Call the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order this Monday, October 7, 2019 at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It is now 6 p.m. Welcome to those that are here viewing it in person, and welcome to those that will view it later. Would you join us for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Public comment? Lynn?
Yes, sir. Mr. Osmond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Council. My name is Carl Clash, and I live at 5204 Windsor Place, Kitty Hawk Estates. And I just wanted to come up and, I asked you for a lot of help earlier this year with flooding and drainage problems in our neighborhood, and thank you. As we always say, your mama told you to say thank you to the people who helped you, and you all stepped up, and the town manager, public works director, just did a great job working on, I don't know if the ditches have ever been cleaned, but certainly a lot of telecommunications were installed afterwards. I know there were issues and things like that, but they did a great job. The contractor, the public works director stayed with it, and they cleaned up afterwards. And did everybody think it was perfect? No, but I'll tell you what, when we had the Hurricane Dorian, it drained a lot faster.
It did.
So proof is in the pudding. Thank you very much, and I appreciate all your work.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it, and we couldn't agree with you more about Willie and Public Works and all the good work they do.
Yeah, they do. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one else has signed up.
Anyone else out there? Let the record show no one else came up. All right. Consent agenda. Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to make a motion to approve it.
Go ahead. Make a motion to
Make a
approve.
motion to approve the consent agenda.
Let's have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Planning. Next, we have to schedule a public hearing. And before I call for a motion on that, I have a question of Rob. Would you come forward, please? Where I'm going with this is the minimum roof pitch thing. A few years ago, I think it was a developer, but they were speaking for other developers. When they came to us and there was a problem with number of floors in a residential area as opposed to the height and where we started base flood elevation in order to get in things like vaulted ceilings and things of that nature. So they wanted some text amendment changes. Most of that had to do with trying to change how you calculated where the footprint was and started your base flood elevation. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, what's happening is the legislature has changed that, so in effect, we could go back to having flat-top roofs in residential areas. Is that correct?
Right.
What would that do? Not that I can change this, because the NC legislature did it, but what would that do to number of floors that might, be allowed and things of that nature?
I guess it could open it up to potentially squeeze in an extra floor by flattening that rooftop. We'd still have the same 35-foot height limit, so they'd still be capped at that. But depending on how how the elevation of the ground lays and how they worked out their plans, I suppose they could work out an extra floor of living space in there.
All right, well, here's what I want.
They'd still be capped by the septic permits as the number of bedrooms and occupants that could be going in. This wouldn't have any effect on that. It would just be the height of living space that they'd be able to get.
When we hear this next week or next month, would you kind of look at that and come back with some information so council can have some idea of how it affects us? And the reason I'm concerned is not that we can change this, but we're also making a decision here whether or not to do it throughout the town, including multi-developments.
Right.
And we may or may not want to do that, considering things And we also want the public to understand there's more to this than just legislature put this on us. But we need to let the public know that it may affect them in a different way,
Okay.
good or bad. I don't know if anybody else thought about that, but that history kind of led me to go there. So that's what it's all about. If you'll bring that information to us.
Sure.
With that in mind, okay, I'll make the motion. I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on November 4, 2019, to consider the proposed text amendments to amend subsections 42, TAC 94, Bravo 2, 42, 247, Delta 5, 42, 248, Delta 5, 42, 49, Delta 5, 42, 273, Delta 5, 42, 274, Delta 5, and 42, 275, Delta 5, which would eliminate the current minimum roof pitch requirement on everything, correct? As it currently,
As it's in there right now, yeah, for all residential.
all right, does that have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right, next thing we have before us is an ordinance amendment. And it has to do with Chapter 6. And basically, we're going to do some elimination of beach equipment, or the possibility of it, excessive and unsafe digging or piling of sand. Council, I would like to table this. I'll make the motion, but I'd like to table, well, I'll make the motion to table it until the next meeting. And the reason is, the public has not had a chance to see what we're about to pass. And I don't like to do that on the first reading. Does anyone have an objection to that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, I motion we table this ordinance until the November 4, 2019 meeting. Does that have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right. I told you I was going to mess you up, didn't I? All right, it wasn't that bad, was it?
No.
Okay, comments from town manager?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, member of the council. I'd like to have Willie Midget, if he could, our Public Works Director, come up and give a brief update on the storm debris pickup. I did put an article in front of each of your spots there that the storm has been declared and signed off by the president, so we should be receiving reimbursement for what's taken place, and the way that we picked up the debris has been in compliance with FEMA as well, with the debris monitor and things like that. So I'll let Willie provide a brief update on where we're at with that.
Good evening. As you know, debris pickup started about 2 weeks ago. We're currently at about 60% collected, which don't sound like a lot, but they have so far, as of yesterday, they collected almost 6,000 cubic yards of debris out of Kitty Hawk. So we're probably looking at about 10,000 total by the time they're done. They've also cut some hangers, hanging limbs, almost 500 hanging limbs from town and state right-of-ways within the town itself. There's 2 trucks working in the town. Currently, one is in the estates, and that one is dedicated to the estates until they're cleaned up. And the other one was supposed to move into Eckner this afternoon. Once Eckner and Worthington are picked up, that's our heavy areas, and then the rest is just kind of sporadic throughout town. So we're anticipating at least another week, maybe 2, for completion. And, answer any questions, anybody's got anything?
For the public, this has had a really slow start. We weren't sure at all that FEMA was going to come in and pick up the cost. And that's kind of a crapshoot, because if they didn't, and we didn't monitor it, what we did start with the right way, then we would have had to pick up the cost anyway. So we were taking a gamble. Hopefully it's going to pay off, but it did take long. It will get done, and you're moving some stuff to help them move it along. So the truck that we bought with that grapple hook and all is certainly paid for itself 2 or 3 times so far. And again, I appreciate all you're doing. I know you've been wrapped right up with all of that, plus what you're trying to do here for security here in the hall. So We appreciate it. Anyone?
Thank you, Willie.
Thanks, Willie.
Another announcement here, the town of Kitty Hawk has partnered with the Outer Banks Hospital. Melody Clompton, our HR director, has put this together, but we have flu shots that will be taking place here at Town Hall on Thursday, October 17th, from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. You do not need any insurance, and it's open to the residents and the general public who live in Dare County. So feel free to come and get a flu shot. It is free, and once again, that date is Thursday, October 17th, from 2:30 to 5:30. So we appreciate the hospital doing that for us. And then also, just to give a brief update, I did contact the town engineer, John DeLucia, to kind of take a look at the Rabbit Hollow drainage area. We did have some residents here at the last meeting, so he's working on that to see if there are any options to help maybe eliminate or relieve a little bit of their water. I don't believe it's going to be eliminated, but possibly relieve a little bit of the standing water in that area. So he's going to put all options sort of on the table if there are any options, and I should have that hopefully by our next council meeting. Just a general overview of what some options are that we may be able to look at. And then I have one video that I thought I'd like to show everyone here. This is a video. As you know, last year we disposed or sold the John boat for Ocean Rescue, and so we thought it was important to kind of give a brief video of how our Ocean Rescue works with the Coast Guard and the Auxiliary Coast Guard station there out of Martins Point, and just kind of some information on how water rescues in this area are conducted and how we train for those. So I'll have Melody go ahead and play that.
On one point of interest, on the vaccination, there
Yes.
is an age limit, correct?
I'm sorry, yeah, 18 and up.
Okay.
We work with our partners to achieve today's objective of finding a stand-up paddleboarder that was overdue. Our partner in this exercise was the United States Coast Guard out of Oregon Inlet, also the Coast Guard Auxiliary, which is an extension of them, and working together for one common goal, which is public safety in the waters and around the town of Kitty Hawk.
We are the Coast Guard Auxiliary. We support the Coast Guard. That's our job. To most people, we look just like them, but we're in our private boats, or we have a boat that the Coast Guard has loaned us. We have just completed our first drill with Kitty Hawk Fire Department Ocean Rescue. The idea was to combine agency resources, Coast Guard and Ocean Rescue, and set up a command schedule so that if we are called to a SAR, search and rescue, we can come up with a plan that everyone can follow. What Ocean Rescue did was send one of their people out on a paddleboard, and then they called it into Station Oregon Inlet Coast Guard. And Coast Guard relayed it up here to us. We called our crews, standby SAR crews, and we were out there. I think our first boat got there in half an hour, and that came out of Heritage Point, Roanoke Island. Second boat, Oregon Inlet Coast Guard, got there in 50 minutes, and our boat got there in just about 1 hour.
We do these type of drills not only with the Coast Guard and Coast Guard Auxiliary. We've done it with the air crews out of Elizabeth City. We do it with our neighboring towns and jurisdictions. We all are in this together as in public safety, whether it's fire, water related, ocean related. We constantly look for efforts to train together because that's how we get better.
This was the first time we ever did it. And even though there were mistakes made, getting a PIW out of the water within an hour of the call is almost unheard of. That was our first try. I know we can do better than that, depending on where the person is.
One of the things that we recognize is that, working together, we all get proficient. And I like to think about it as the Kitty Hawk Ocean Rescue motto we use. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And that's only established by training with your partners.
It made like one of them boats was singing.
It did. I saw him bailing the water out. I saw that.
Yeah, think twice before I called in.
That's all my announcements this evening.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, Mr. Town Attorney?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
All right. I have a question for the manager, then I'll turn it over to the rest of them. Bonanza demolition, anything on that?
Yeah, we're waiting on the contractor to get us back the asbestos report.
Okay.
And then once that's back, they'll begin to schedule for either removal or there'll be no asbestos, and then they can start with the demolition. So
Got you.
the council approved those bids at our last meeting, so hopefully we'll have an actual time frame by our next meeting, if it hasn't already started by then.
So it's a regulatory holdup right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What if there is asbestos? What happens then?
They hire a contractor to remove the asbestos. We anticipate there being some asbestos
Right?
in that
Based on the
building.
age, I would say
Yeah.
yes.
So they remove it and haul it off, I guess,
Right.
to the dump and
I
put
think
it
they
in
have
a
to wet
special
it,
bag.
bag it,
Yep. mhm.
all that.
Tina, you got anything else?
No, sir?
I don't.
I don't either.
How about you, Craig?
No, sir. Great video, I like it.
Okay. So, public comment? Anybody? Let the record show no one came forward. I motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Never any? All right.